Hi everybody, Ryan here with Siege Airsoft. Today we're going to introduce the Siege field model that we've placed in the center of our lobby. So Aaron is the mastermind of a lot of what happens at Siege here, and he designed this model that we have presented, and we hope to get some pretty good use out of it. I'm going to let Aaron introduce himself.
Awesome, thank you so much. So, hey everybody, I come from the background of environmental design. I studied it in OCAD a few years back. When I started designing Siege at around 2015, it did go through a lot of prototype iterations, just a lot of things were learned in the last few years. And one goal of mine through the years was that if I could make a 3D version of it, it would make the experience of reading where you are, finding out what happened in the field kind of like a lot clearer. So when we were trying to make it into something tangible, we went through a couple of different options. One is scale. So as you can see, the scale kind of what dictated it was partially the table, because it's a big place. The whole place is about 300 feet by about 100 feet wide, and so I didn't want the table to be too crazy. And so the other thing that really also dictated the scale was the availability of cars and people. And it would be kind of like the people you would use for what would this be,
wargaming,
tabletop wargaming, and also cars that are easily available everywhere. That being said, it's good to mention that the scale is 1 foot is to 1/4 inch, and this right here kind of represents the older version of it.
This was a prototype.
Yeah, the prototype version of it, which was a 2015 kind of try at it. It established a lot of things for me, like the scale and also how difficult it was to cut balsa wood and try to make a city out of it. And so you'll see with the new model, we kind of went with foam core, white foam core, especially because it's standard practice for architectural design to kind of represent the space in a pure way. So generally we're trying to keep it in its pure white form as well. It's just an easier read.
So in terms of the timeline of building this, when did we start with the final model before?
I would say the final model was maybe 2 months in the making. So it was just kind of every day you crack on it. I would crack on it a little bit, and that's where people who are kind of watching our Instagram and Facebook get to see a little bit of the process. In terms of the process itself, even though I have the 3D version of it, what really made rapidly prototyping it doable was I started creating cut lines on Illustrator that I could print out, put it onto a foam core, and then cut that, and that created the perfect cut lines for me that just fit perfectly onto each other. There's less of the guesswork.
So there are a lot of goals that we had for this project, and it wasn't just to have something pretty to look at while we're working away here, improving the experience for you guys when you guys can come back. It's also to solve a few problems that we have noticed from customers and from people walking in. And one of those problems is when people walk into Siege or when they see it from the outside, because we're kind of located in a more industrial area, it's really hard to get a sense of scale of the space and of the field that you're going to be playing in. So when they walk in, they don't really know how big the space is, how expansive it is. For those of you who don't know, Siege is currently the largest indoor operating field in Canada. How big are we, Aaron?
They're 34,000 square feet.
34,000 square feet. So it's really hard to kind of tell that from the outside because we're quite a long field.
Yeah, we have
that width.
A very limited frontage, and it kind of goes really deep into the place.
Exactly. So having customers walk in and players walk in that haven't been here before or haven't been here for a while, as most of you probably haven't, they're able to look at the field and be like, wow, this is what it looks like. This is what I'm going to get into. Kind of like when you walk into a condo development or some sort of property development and you see their model. That's exactly where the inspiration came from.
I think generally it's very useful too, because it gives you a very good understanding of the space. I think for new players as well as people who are kind of going in and out of the games, I find it generally breeds better players when they can kind of situate themselves within the map. And I think that there's some of us that can kind of do it, but I think that it's not a skill that everybody can naturally develop to go, hey, here's where I am with the map. I can radio or comm or scream at this guy and tell them where I am. It's something that most people kind of like. It takes a few aids for them to find out where they are in the map.
It's basically like the map on a loading screen of a video game or some sort of cheat book or guidebook to look at. And that kind of goes into our next thing that we're trying to solve is better communication, better teamwork, a better gameplay experience here at Siege. We have a 2D map, and oftentimes we found on the 2D map people are kind of pointing out the areas, but the 2D map, it's not super to scale, and also it's only 2D, so you can't always see every lane of fire, and we can only display one floor really, and we kind of just display the most used one, which is the ground.
Yeah.
But with the 3D space, people are able to communicate better, kind of be like, oh, I'm over here, you know, that person's over there.
That's right.
And last time in that game, you were defending this door, and you should defend this door, stuff like that, you know?
It's good to mention, outside of the player base, we do have professionals that come in here, and they also kind of benefit from this type of experience, because we can tell that like their communication as to what like the after action report, where did I get shot from, where did I come into contact with somebody, it generally flows better, and we see something like that from the professionals that we have in here, and we go, hey, you know what, we would like to incorporate that kind of experience into our milsims, into our general play, that people can kind of situate themselves better.
For sure. And if players have feedback on our field, we don't have to walk them in game and they point out like this corner, and then, you know, we have to go from there. They can literally just go to the model, point something out that they have some thoughts about, like good or bad or constructive, and they can say something about it. And it just makes, you know, the avenues of communication much easier between players and us on the design level.
That's right.
Yeah. Lastly, and probably arguably most importantly, is the field model is modular, just like the field, and it allows us to do rapid prototyping. So before the field designs, like Aaron talked, is we get feedback from players, we get feedback from professionals, from people in the architectural and video game design community and stuff like that, and we feed off of that. And the problem with that is we have to put it in SketchUp, design it, then put it on the field, see this lane doesn't work, and do little micro adjustments and stuff like that. The field model allows us to do crazy rapid prototyping because we essentially have like a Lego Minecraft kind of set where we can literally just move it around, go down there, and because it's built to scale thanks to, you know, Aaron's planning, we can like look at the lanes of fire and movement. And
that's right.
It allows us in the future, when we do edit our field and change it up to keep things fresh, we can do it way faster, and we can actually take feedback much more accordingly to people's thoughts.
Yeah, I think that generally what's good is there's just less of a broken telephone kind of thing that could happen. Most of the people who come to us, I can see, we can see that have good ideas about the space, and really like just don't have that knowledge of like, hey, how can this be enacted? How do these things even move? Which some people might who help us with any of the field flips know how the modular cubes move. Yeah. But like with this, there's a direct link to somebody who goes, hey, what if this was here and just created a continuous lane, or what just placed here and just stopped all that flow? They could actually take a cube and go, hey, rotate it, place it over here. Yeah. And it just helps our process of kind of catering to more shooters.
And I think the big thing with that is sometimes people, they focus on one lane and they don't realize that if you move something, it actually changes the whole flow. It's like a symbiotic thing. So it kind of gives people that bigger scale idea where when you're on the field, you don't really look at it from the top down, you're looking at it from one lane only. And you're like, oh, I would move this here so it can give me that advantage, or it can give the enemy that disadvantage. But then they don't understand, well, that actually makes it so this lane now is unusable and this part is now unusable. So there's a lot of considerations, and I think having the model will better give people a sense of that symbiotic relationship, that wholeness of designing an airsoft field. It's a really cool development that we've been working pretty hard on, and we're super excited to share it with you guys when we can, of course. So Aaron, any last words for our viewers? A bit of dad advice, maybe what you've been up to during this pandemic and all that stuff? I
would say follow your heart.
Always very good, very anime. That's
right. You know, work hard, and you know what, especially with this time that's happening to us right now, take the time to develop a skill set, you know, like work on that stuff.
For sure.
I would say I myself kind of ended up developing some gardening skill sets. You know,
awesome.
I'm the caretaker of a garden and a few chickens, aside from, you guys already know, Kintaro.
Yeah. and I've been learning a bit more about design and video editing, and, you know, being in front of you guys and seeing you guys. So during this pandemic, I think it's really important to learn some skills to improve your portfolio, resume, even your own personal life. And the world has changed a lot and is going to change a lot after this. So be ready for that, everybody. And with that being said, that's pretty much all for today. We're super excited to introduce these kind of new features for you, and we'll have plenty more coming. And we hope to see you soon. Don't forget to keep dry firing at home, and have a good one out there.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.